Good morning, good morning, good morning. And today we're looking at the word against. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control. Against which there is no law. No law about being happy. No law about having joy. No law against having peace. No law against having self-control. And we've seen over and over and over again that men and women, people who are imprisoned, who are put in shackles, who are locked up, who are put in the big house, or sent up the river, or down the river, or across town, or the east side or the west side, even for 30, 40 years, and then they're exonerated. It's shown that the justice system messed up. There's no law against, in the meantime, being joyful in Jesus. And yet, I want to say to you kindly that a little J. Vernon McGee actually, if you haven't seen his Bible studies, they're amazing. Very, very classic, old school Bible study. Now, it just came to me, if someone was coming against traffic here, they're very likely to have an accident if they're flowing against the flow of the traffic. Now, I'm flowing with the flow of traffic, so I'm not trying to flow against it. Now, I may not be able to go 85 like the guy just zip by. I'm going about 65, which is the speed limit. But the thing is that people want to go 85, 95, 100, 110. Let's go for 200. Let's go for eloquist. Let's do my best. No, that's not doing your best. I think of this maniac. I'm going 70 now down the hill, and this guy's zipping by like I'm sitting still. Well, I'm against speeding. Speed kills. And I've had several people that I have known of and known who have been taken out in accidents. I was in a classroom one time at the high school, and I got a red letter and talked about a young gal who'd gone out for lunch, and she was right there at the corner of Santa Anita and right there where the lumberyard used to be. Now there's an RCI there, and she was struck by another car, and although she had a brand new Mustang, still killed by hitting that pole. It just killed her, and we were all shocked. Other students were killed outside the high school on the street. I'm against people being killed by cars, by speed. One of my students grew up and drove maniacally. Thank you, George Bush. And that's a real maniacally. And they hit a giant tree down by the 7-Eleven on Colorado Boulevard, Negorock. Killed themselves, their sister, their baby, their brother. I mean, it was horrendous, just horrendous. And another one of my students, his baby brother, was taken out by an errant driver who came down the hill, didn't stop. So I can go on and on and on. When you're 60 years old, you know, that whole thing about, well, you know, we can cover a thing or two because we sing a thing or two. Yeah, you know, it's not just for the State Farm or farmers or our farmers. But, wow, that sounded scary. Someone was really breaking there. So it isn't just for. Oh, here we are. It's up here. That's just what happened. Somebody had a hard time. I don't know what they did. Oh, that's pretty dangerous, though. I'm against people being in accidents in any circumstance. Looks like that car is disabled, and they just had a hard time with it. All right. Well, I'm on the transition here from the one highway to the other, and I always go to the right-hand lane right here because of the fact that this third lane over on the slow lane tends to kind of be a little bit, move it along there. Now, Murphy's Law will be that now that I've been bragging on this great route, that I'll find myself encapsulated by boxcars. And all right, that guy back there's kind of bright-eyed, honey. I'm going to put up a curtain back there so it'll kind of take away some of this early morning brightness. So against. It doesn't seem like we would be against anything. It seems like we're going to be for eloquence. We're going to be for Jesus. We're going to be for prayer. We're going to be for a lot of really, really awesome things. Well, that's all very nice. We can be for things, but we also need to be against certain things, against wickedness, against evil, against the big thing right now is human trafficking. And back in the ancient days of history, and even just a couple hundred years ago, there was a very famous music producer, I think his name Quincy Jones, that was the name of the man. And Quincy Jones, he was brought up with his grandmother, and his grandmother was a slave. Isn't that amazing? I never dreamed of such a thing. All right, so his grandmother was a slave, and and to hear that, I thought, wow, his grandmother must have been really old, because Quincy Jones is alive right now, and to have his grandmother have raised him, had been a slave. Maybe they misquoted. Maybe she was a daughter of a slave, but slavery was one of those things that fear horrible stain on our lives, and people use Bible verses to justify the slavery. And as I told you yesterday, I was just watching early Sunday morning, and they were commemorating the opening of the Smithsonian's Institute to African American achievements and accomplishments, and pretty awesome place. Well, that's one thing, is human trafficking of any kind, for slavery, for sex, for any purpose. And against the abuse of children in any way. I was not sexually abused, but I was certainly verbally abused, neglected, physically tortured and beaten, and the things that happened to me, they would have taken out any of parents today, but back in the 50s and 60s, apparently, it was okay. No, it was never okay. But getting the backhanded slap from your mother during a party, everyone just kind of nobody stepped up and said, I'm calling DCFS. I'm gonna file a report. I'm against this. No, nobody seemed to be against anything. They were all just sitting there, sipping their Diet Pepsis and just enjoying a fine day while I suffered. And I'm not the only one that suffered, and many, many, many others did. I saw another report, another radio personality who had called out another famous person for their abuse of women. And at the time, the person still had a lot of power and kind of called up and tried to get the person fired off the radio for calling them out on their sin. And it didn't happen. They weren't fired. But now, all these years later, all of a sudden it's like, aha, yeah, she was right to begin with. Well, personally, me as a person, what am I against? I don't really think about the negative too much, but today that's our study. We're trying to think of the negative. We're trying to think of what we're against. But we're certainly against abuse, neglect. We're against stealing. Stealing is not a good idea. It's not only not a good idea, it'll get you in big trouble there, boy. The old shackleroonies there on the old wrist. So that's not a good idea. I'm against being messy, just filth and dirt. I'm against the baskets that you go to the cash register. I was at the cash register. Last night, and waiting. Jeanette wanted to have some wonderful, some of the tacos I make. I make real good tacos, and so I had to go to the store and get the ground beef for that, and my daughter wanted some Takis, and she wanted some oranges, healthy and spicy all at once. And so I was there at the register, and I noticed the baskets. There must have been 12, 14 baskets there, so I got those, got them to the front door, and there was a guy waiting there at the front door. He was like looking like forlornly, where are the baskets? And of course I showed up with the baskets, and yay! So I proceeded to go to the next 6 registers, and every one of them had, giant stacks of baskets. By the time I got done, I'd probably taken, 60, 70 baskets up to the front there. So I'm against baskets not being taken to the front. I'm against divorce. You know that I am. I've spoken about that, and I'm never going to be voting for divorce. I don't care how you paint it, how you butter it up, how you put it on a fancy plate with a little glass lid. I'm really against it. Now, of course, Jesus said for the case of infidelity, and of course today, if you're with someone who's an abuser, who's beating you up, who's cheating on you and beating you up and taking drugs, and just we heard of a family in Texas, I think it was, maybe it was here in California, but in any case, there was like 17 little kids, from 17 years old down to the infants, a couple dead dogs, and the home didn't have any running water or gas, and these people lived there for a long time. Well, I'm against that, of course. You need to have a proper environment for the family, running water and gas and clean, and so against anything really harmful to children. That's just it's not acceptable at all, obviously. Against getting ahead of another person. I was at the gas station, and I was at the gas station yesterday, and there's 4 signs at my Arco station, my local Arco. Nick he's our sponsor, Nick. Hey Nick, good to see you. And this person, they went in the wrong way, then they backed in like they were going to try to pretend like they were there. And I'm like, you know what, I'm against that. I said, no, that's not right, sir. People are pulled out all the way to Los Robles. We're all lined up to get in here, and you come sneaking in here like this. No, it's not right, I didn't yank the guy out of his car. I'm against the violence. I'm against physical contact, So I did tell him, I spoke up and told him, I said, look, this is not right. People are waiting here, and you're cutting in front of the line. All right, so if we know what we're against, then what were we for? Well, we want the fruits of the Spirit. That's the whole point of today's devotional, is that we want to be for love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, against which there is no law. So if we're going to be getting the goodies, if we're going to be going for the best, then we need to be for the Lord in God's Word, not participating in things we don't believe in. If you don't believe in cutting in line, if you don't believe in leaving baskets to the back, if you don't believe in some of this stuff, if you're against it, then don't participate in it, and then stop it wherever you can. Tomorrow night they have the Night of Dreams. If you want to go to the Dream Center in Los Angeles and you want to be part of the Night of Dreams, then write a check for the money and get it done. $350, you get yourself a seat, and then start contributing. You can do that tomorrow night. That's going to be awesome. Well, this Bob, I got to go. Love you so much. You can reach me at 213-713-8954 or 8954green@att.net. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I love you.